Welcome to the Joshua Jordan Experience. Listen to gather mystical insights for an extraordinary life. Hello, my beloved friends. Welcome back to the Joshua Jordan Experience. Today, what I would like to talk about is this transformation that we're going through as a species on this planet. And as I have mentioned before several times, the world we create right now, our mass consciousness contains a prevalence, a dominance of fear, of a fear-based thinking that somehow there's not enough and that you can take something from me and ooh, I might die. So I have to survive and I have to be hyper vigilant and always on the lookout for things that threaten my survival. And the human being has been stewing in this fear soup for so very long. You started fearing other humans. Of course, really early on in our tribal experiences, we started fearing other humans, and we would gather into our own groups and want to protect our territory and our resources because without enough resources, we couldn't feed the tribe. And if our tribe is growing, we need more and more resources. So we kept expanding our territory and bumping into other tribes' territories. And that's where all our problems kind of began. Actually, even though prior to that, we had a fear of being attacked and killed by animals. In the beginning, we didn't have very sophisticated weapons, and animals were a threat to us, especially large animals on the savannah. It could frighten us quite a bit and threaten our lives. So humans grew up with this idea that there's always something to be afraid of. And that is the transition we're going through. Now, will we be able to eliminate fear? No. Fear will always exist. However, fear will return to its original intention, and that is your survival. Your survival is not threatened by a neighbor that you have to lock out of your home to make sure they don't come in and take your stuff. Your survival is not threatened at all. Your survival is not threatened by a person with a different idea than you have or sees the world in a totally different way. Your survival is not threatened unless they get so agitated that you don't agree with them that they threaten you with physical violence. And that is when fear is appropriate. Fear is a natural part of the entire spectrum. So we're not going to eliminate fear. We can't get rid of it. It's a part of our DNA, so to speak. So what we're going to do, though, is learn to control fear, manage fear, handle fear. In other words, be a little less fearful and a lot more courageous. Because even in those situations about when I'm being verbally abused, it takes courage to stand up for yourself and say, the way you are addressing me makes me uncomfortable. Is there some way we can tone it down or calm it down, or unplug some of the venom from this conversation? You have every right, but you see, that takes courage. And especially if you're talking to a boss or a manager who is belittling you in some way or abusing you verbally. So, fear is a part of us. It will always be with us, but we can learn how to handle it in nonviolent ways. And dwelling on fear is a way to actually attract what you're afraid of. So, the less we dwell on what we are afraid of, the better off we are. How do we do that? Well, we manage our content of our thoughts. We pay attention. What am I thinking about? Why have I been thinking I need to be nervous about this and such or this person or that one? Just pay attention to the content of your thoughts. That is going to be a big part of what helps us make the transition. You see, it is the mass consciousness we are shifting. The mass consciousness, as I said, has right now a dominance of fear energy within it. So when we clear from our consciousness the dominance of fear, what remains is love and trust, cooperation, the ability to compromise. You know, in the United States where I live, compromise has become a word that's difficult for a lot of our politicians to grasp. They just want it my way or no way, or my way or the highway, or however you want to say that. And that is not the way to the new age. We will learn to cooperate and compromise. Not all of us will get everything we want. And some of us will get things we've wanted for a long time and have been denied. So there's going to be a large shift in your reality when the mass consciousness gets off of fear as its primary source of energy. Oh, did I just admit it? Fear is the primary source of energy in many capacities. Sometimes even your fear is your primary motivator. For example, I don't want to go to work today. I don't feel like going to work today. And then this little fear bell rings. It's like, guess what? They're expecting me, they're counting on me. And if I start skipping work a lot, I might not have a job to go to anyway when I do feel like it. So fear can motivate us in those little ways, but we don't have to resort to fear to motivate ourselves. Some people are motivated by the pursuit of pleasure, the pursuit of happiness, rather than the fear of pain or agony or suffering. So in psychology, those you're taught that these are the basic motivators. The basic drivers are the fear of pain, suffering, agony. So fear-based motivation keeps us psychologically in line. Or the other is the pursuit of pleasure, hedonistic pleasures, worldly pleasures, seeking that which is joyous and fun. That's a motivator too. So sometimes you can say, hey, I don't feel like going to work today, and yet I want to keep earning my salary because I've got a vacation coming up in a couple months and I want to be able to spend some dough and have a good time. So, out of these two primary motivators, what we want to do in the mass consciousness is make the shift from letting fear be the dominant force to allowing our pleasure seeking self, our peaceful seeking selves to dominate the mass consciousness. And we do that with compassion, love. Those are the things that will erase our dominant dependence upon fear as our motivator. This will change the world. Now, I want to share with you that that is not an evolution. A lot of people are talking about this transition we're going to make as if it is an evolution. And I have even been guilty of referring to it as human's next evolutionary step. However, Joshua makes me understand that we are perfect as we are. So there is no evolution to perfection. Do you see? All is perfect as it is. Oh, yes. So there's no evolution to be made on perfection. Yes, Joshua sees us in that light, that we are perfectly formed human beings with perfect human nature, and we are perfectly manifesting on our planet. Therefore, there's no evolution to perfection. It's finished. However, while we're living a lifetime, it's quite evident to us that we can do better. There really are things that we could definitely do better. Now, I'm going to get into an example that I have used at other times, and it's kind of personal because it's something that calls my attention on the global stage. Now, the global stage is a reflection of our mass consciousness. What is happening on the global stage that draws your attention? What happens on the global stage that gets you to turn your head and think, oh, interesting? So, when I look out, what I think is out there, which I know is really in here, in the world I see, look at the mass consciousness. What we are creating on the global stage as a mass consciousness is there's not enough. Not enough food for all these people. Not enough. So the mass consciousness, in its fear, dwells in scarcity beliefs. So as long as the mass consciousness believes there's not enough, we will continue to produce proof of that on the planet. We believe there's not enough. Therefore, look, we can look out there and find the proof. Now, that is a cognitive bias. In other words, you're looking for the proof of what you already believe. And that's easy to find. The challenge is to change the belief and then look for the proof of that. There's plenty. There's plenty. And all the people have plenty to eat. Plenty. And we share it. If I have more than enough, I share it. Why not? So when I see what's on the world stage that calls to my attention, I want to take action. So I believe there's plenty. There's an abundance for everyone. And I want the mass consciousness to recognize that so that we can find a way to prove it on the world stage. You see, once the mass consciousness believes there's plenty, we will no longer be manifesting scarcity on the planet. See how simple that is. Another thing that calls to my attention on the global stage is war. I have had enough of it. I am ready for a world beyond war. And to the best of my ability, I am a peacemaker. What is in the mass consciousness that's making us manifest these conflicts between nations? Conflicts between nations, causing war, as if somehow violence is going to fix the problem. So, what is it within the mass consciousness that is producing war? Individually, we struggle. Individually, am I able to resolve internal conflicts that arise in ways that are not manipulative or coercive or aggressive and overpowering? Am I able to resolve my internal conflicts fluidly with cooperation, compromise, understanding? Now, as more and more human beings come to peace within, we will stop manifesting so much conflict out there. And it's not just the wars. This internal conflict we have, it appears in crime as well as war. And war is a crime. It is time we started to recognize that. It is a crime to commit or wage war. So, these are examples that I want to share with you because Joshua teaches us something called inside out healing. Inside out. Now, I honor and respect people who are busy doing outside in change. They see what's going wrong in the world and they go out there and take action out there to try to get everybody involved out there to fix this thing. And that works to a degree. But what happens, what I have observed very often is people want to get other people on board with changing what they are fearful about. And unfortunately, the way they go about that is to point out what's wrong and point out the fear and point out why we should be scared. And more people get frightened. And so they all start contributing to this issue in a way that is actually not constructive. They're actually looking for proof of what's wrong. And the more we do that, the more we look for the evidence of the problem, the more we will find. It is that simple. So what is the problem? You think it's a overpopulation of dogs and cats, and we keep looking out there and we keep finding it. And we get people scared about it to get on board. So they'll give money to us so that we can go out and solve the problem. But instead of making a big deal about the improvements and pointing out all the progress that is being made, they keep putting out these messages that just break your heart and make you hurt. This is not the way to change the global consciousness, the mass reality. So inside out healing means this. I find a problem on the world stage. Let's go back to my first example. There are starving people. Now, where is the starving part of me in my whole self? What am I starving for? It is obviously not food. I have plenty of that. I have access to plenty of that. I'm never fearful about not having enough. So that's not what I'm starving for. It must be something else. What am I starving for? And when I answer that question, I can address it within. Yes, I can feed that hunger. Let's say I was starving for attention. I'm starving for affection. And then I can look deeper into that. Why? Why do I feel a lack, a scarcity? Why do I have a starvation for that? So when I find what's going on within, let's say I'm starving for love. And honestly, I do think that is a huge part of the issue within the mass consciousness. Starving for love. So when I find what I'm starving for and feed that hunger, then I heal. And as I heal, the world heals. If we all individually looked within and found what is it I'm really starving for and heal that, then we can begin to share plenty, more than enough. We come to the idea that there's always going to be enough. There'll always be plenty. This planet is so robust and healthy. She is able to provide us with all that we need to survive. And yet we have people starving. So, in the mass consciousness, what am I starving for? What am I hungry for? Well, in consciousness, we're never starving for some kind of physical sustenance. Mass consciousness does not manifest physical. Well, That's a misleading thing. Here I am in a paradoxical kind of situation. Yes, the mass consciousness manifests everything, everything, everything. So all that is physical comes through the mass consciousness and rises here on the earth plane. So what I'm trying to say though is that the mass consciousness is not a physical thing. Mass consciousness is etheric. It doesn't have sustenance. It doesn't need to be fed food to live like our body. So in the mass consciousness, what are we hungry for? I think a great deal of it is affection, hungry for love. We have been so fearful of each other for so very long. We've stopped saying how much I love you. We've stopped being able to let love show in public. And I'm not talking about displays of affection like kissing or something like that. I'm talking about just treating other human beings with kindness, with gentleness, recognizing I am another you. And here we are out here in this grocery store, or we're at school, or we're at work, or wherever we may find ourselves. I'm another you. And I'm going to treat you the way I want you to treat me. And I'm going to treat me the way I want you to treat me. I am learning to treat myself with love and affection. And this will change the world, you see. I'm right back to that. So as a collective consciousness, we need to know what are we hungry for and feed it. And then on the global stage, we will no longer produce signs of lack and scarcity. Scarcity can be in so many things. We think of dwindling resources, or people worry about not having enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough love, whatever it may be. Stop thinking about what's lacking and start dwelling on the proof that there's more than enough. And honestly, if those groups got activated and started going out and looking for evidence of where there is more than enough and plentiful, and put commercials on TV to make you realize, look, what an abundant planet we live on. How there's plenty of everything for everyone. Let's advertise that rather than these commercials of dogs and cats being mistreated and suffering and starving and being abused, hurt by humans. How appalling. Oh, my judgment showing. So what did I just do? In judging people who abuse animals, I am saying that for me is a bridge too far. First of all, I will never cross it, ever. And to the best of my ability, I want to look for the proof that people are awakening to the importance of how we treat other species, and not just domesticated species. I'm talking about every species on the planet. We are going to come into harmony with our planet and with all the animals on it. So the subject I wanted to talk about is about the global transition. I wanted to talk about the fact that we're not evolving, but what we are really doing is waking up. That's how Joshua looks at it. When I say to Joshua, oh, this is an evolution in mass consciousness, he says, no, this is not evolution, because the ability to create a planet that is better for all already exists. It already dwells within you. You don't need to evolve. What you need to do is wake up. Wake up your sleeping knowledge. Wake up your sleeping knowing. Knowing I am just another you. Let's stop fearing one another. Get on with creating plenty for everybody. Yes. Thank you so much for listening to my thoughts. And now, to the best of my ability, I will be still and try to bring Joshua through for you. Hello, beloved one. It is my honor and joy to be with you once again. I appreciate you taking some time to listen to our teachings. I urge you, if you are a serious student of oneness and you are participating in making a change in the mass consciousness, I want you to read our book. As Jordan has said, we write books together. I give him the information I have been teaching him for 40 plus years in an organized fashion so that he can write a chapter and write our book. And yes, sometimes we need editing, he says. We cut some stuff and we rearrange some things, and suddenly we have got perfection. So please buy our book, The Seventh Major Understanding, A Message of Awakening. It is a message of awakening. It takes the subject of oneness and divides it into 7 basic categories for the purpose of your awakening, so that you can see more of your whole self and begin to bring that awareness into daily living. It is our goal to get you to live oneness, not just think about it. Some people have a very good knowledge about oneness and understanding of it. Conceptually, they get it. But in their daily lives, they continue living as if they are separate from everything around them. So, through the 7th major understanding, the message of awakening, my people are finding the way to bring oneness into daily living, not living, believing in separate, living with the belief of total and complete unity. How do you get there from here? Begin with knowing there's only one mind. So you can divorce yourself from thoughts that you have your own mind. My one mind. My thoughts are my thoughts and they affect no one else. That is not true. Your thoughts are in the mass consciousness and they affect everything. My feelings are my feelings and they don't affect anyone. Not true. Your feelings are in the mass consciousness and they affect the feelings of all that is. You are inseparable from all that is. Don't you see? You are the one we are waiting for. I see you awakening. I see you coming around. I hear you asking questions to Joshua. Do more of that. And if you want verification that you heard my answers, one thing you can do is test. Test. In other words, Jordan is my chosen channel and hears my voice so clearly. If you ask me a question and get your answer through your guides or through other ways, but it comes to you, I am trying to get through to you, and you do get the answer to your question, you might want to ask Jordan. Ask Jordan. Jordan, what does Joshua say about XYZ? And if it matches, bingo! We are connecting total. We have had this experience many times. Let me share with you one of Jordan's close, beloved female friends. When Jordan was going through a phase of not channeling, refusing channeling, then this friend of Jordan's began to speak for me to him, as I wanted him to stop that. And I loved him through it. It was an important transition in his lifetime, and he felt the necessity to set aside all of his psychic, spiritual stuff and tell himself, if any of that is real, it will come back to me. And so I found my way back as fast as possible into his ear. He accepted me and realized we will not transition out of our relationship. It is not possible. So this woman who was channeling me to him, he could hear me. Jordan could hear me say it right before she would say it. That's a test. And that's when I knew. Yes, he hears my voice. She hears my voice. She says my words. He hears them and knows I just said that. So, test. If you want to channel me or if you are seeking answers through me, test. Write to Jordan and say, I am talking to Joshua. I am hearing Joshua. What did he say about X? And if it matches, we've made it. Now, there may be some subtleties, or Jordan may be able to add depth to it that you did not get the fullness of the information available. This is good. This is good path. You will be testing that, yes, you got the core essence of it. And now Jordan is showing you that over decades of working with me, how much deeper that understanding can grow. So maybe that is a side issue, and yet I wanted to bring it up today. I thank you so much for your time and attention. I love you. Let the light grow. Let love show. Let your life be fun. And always, beloved one, be true to you. I bid you good day. Thank you for listening. We hope you heard something to ponder and gained inspiration for your journey. Please join us again next time. Joshua says, let the light grow, let love show, and let your life be fun.